weekend to let the mortar pan dry out completely, to where, you know, it's 3 days worth of, yes, love it. And as you can see, red guard, 2 coats. And there are people that will argue the point, does Hardybacker need red guard? Yes, Hardybacker absorbs water, yes. Go on my video I posted a couple weeks back, you will see literally me tearing out Hardybacker from a curb and the mold and mildew that was in it, so yes. Now, arguably, is it needed on the walls? Not really. Walls don't fail. It's always ankle below. It's always the curb and or a bench and or, what's the third one? Ooh, I forgot. Oh, a knee wall. So a curb is a number 1 failure. Next would be usually a bench and then a knee wall. Although those are kind of 50-50. I've had benches and knee walls fail before about equally. But this is a number 1. The walls don't fail. Never had a call in 24 years of doing this where my walls are failing. Oh no, my shower is ruined forever. Never happens. But my customer is anti-aqua. He doesn't like water. He doesn't like leakage of water. So there's concrete below here, about 2 or 3 inches thick. Then my mortar bed, which is about 1/2 inch thick, then level quick on top of that. So for water to get through all of that and then get into the crawl space below here would be highly unusual. It could happen, but most of that water would be absorbed into all that concrete material. All the material that's below here would stop any type of damage or anything happening. Because remember, there are no really 2x4s and stuff. Well, there are, but it's behind all this float. So for that reason, you know, because he doesn't want a problem, and I want to make him sure that there's no problem, so that's why I red guarded. The walls I do by default because it makes my customers feel better, but it doesn't make me feel any better because walls aren't really an issue. But since I'm doing the floor, I tie in the walls to the floor, and there we go. There was a couple of very thin coats of screed that I did with thin set earlier, and then I put a fan on it, let it dry across there. So I took a flat edge and I ran across there, and there was a little bit of gap. So I screeded out a little bit more thin set on that back wall. I screeded a little bit more thin set here. And I wasn't quite level on the floor, so I screeded some thin set up in that corner, along the back end, up in that corner, and about right there is where I became level. So yes, you can remediate a non-level floor after the fact with thin set and just make it all pretty and nice and all that stuff. It works. So yeah. So tomorrow, right off the bat, I'm going to put some silicone. This is my method of doing a sealed system, getting away from the products that have come out that followed my sealed system, because I'm the one that devised the sealed system from the get-go. I started this probably 14, 15 years ago, before there was any product. So the sealed system that I devised, I red guard up underneath the drain the best I can. Then I run a paintable silicone white along the edge of the drain, and then I overlap, and then I screed it out with my finger so it overlaps onto the floor. When that dries in about an hour or so, then I overlap that with some red guard, and then it's a sealed system. No water. This would be a swimming pool forever. No water is ever going to get into this floor doing it that way. Just my preference. I don't need a product to make what happened that I started, 14, 15 years ago. I don't need a product for that. Anyway, this is going to dry overnight and cure and all that stuff, and then, as I said, tomorrow I'll take care of that right away, and then I can start doing my floor tile. And I just found out today there's going to be a skirt. See how there's a 7-inch skirt with a piece of pencil at the top? He wants to replicate this, which I did not know prior. So there's going to be a skirt wrapping around here, and then of course this tile is going to wrap around and be a border, the black. So there's some prep going on before I can get to the floor proper. Before I can get to the floor proper, I have to do all of that first, I believe. And then he's going to draw out that little arch so that that design will be on the back of the wall, so I'll know exactly where I'm going to put my pencil, wrap my pencil around that arch, and I can do my diagonal 4-inch tile inside of that. This is going to be, typically when I do tile on a shower, 2, maybe 3 days. This is going to be 5, maybe 7 days of just tiling because of the intricacy of all this that has to happen. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's not a big deal. You know, my customer takes good care of me and I take good care of him. So, you know, I've worked for him a couple times in the past, and he's a really nice guy. So I'm going to be a really nice guy back to him and do everything right, take my time. I have been doing this work for 26 years. And in that time, it's rare that I don't know what I'm doing. And on this job, I have more questions than answers. So, as I talked about when I first started this series of videos, everything that's on the floor, bathroom proper, replicates into the shower, which means this flower tile will continue. Yeah. So that will continue, this border will continue with these pieces here and wrap around these little columns, left and right side, and there'll be a black border. What I've also found out yesterday, only yesterday, is we're replicating the skirt 7 inches with a pencil on top. And so they went out and found a 12 by 24 tile that kind of sort of matches this marble, and I'm going to cut that down to 7 inches and put it against the wall, and then the border will go around so everything replicates, even this tile. This double bull nose, because it is a double bull nose, cannot be found. So instead, can't find where it's at now. Instead they got these trim. So this is usually used as a threshold piece. It's kind of marble-ish type of tile. It's a long strip, 3 foot long, which pretty much matches this double bullnose for the most part. Kind of matches up. Because everything is supposed to replicate from the outside to the inside, I wrapped the column, and then my next step was to put the laser on the other side and wrap this column, so that everything matches up, right? That's what I was told to do. And even though my customer has a designer who is overseeing all the details of this, there's a communication breakdown. And there's a lot of stuff I don't know what I'm doing, which is very frustrating. And it doesn't happen very often. As I said, 25, 26 years of doing this, I know exactly what I'm doing when I start tiling. The day I start tiling, I know what it'll look like, because I can imagine it in my brain, which means I can facilitate putting everything in, except this, because now the designer told me that the columns are not to be replicated. Well, my camera shut off for no reason at all. Don't understand why. But as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, all these pieces had to be taken off. All these pieces that I did such a great job doing, like double 45s, you know, like perfect cut. And it's annoying. So, I don't have a clear idea of what I'm doing. My customer, the man who's paying me, is not the one designing this. The guy that's designing this, me and him are not communicating well. So he did not want, even though everything's supposed to replicate, all the tile in the bathroom and all supposed to replicate all the way in, same as the floor, same as this part's not supposed to, and I don't know why. It makes no sense that, so this, to be clear, because I wasn't until today, this is going to be solid white marble, 24-inch marble that I'm going to cut. There'll be a factory edge, I guess, showing, well, it'll be a cut edge because all marble is baked, all marble is cut. So there's no such thing as a factory edge on marble. So there's going to be 2 inside pieces and then an outside piece. And that's what this will be, all the way up to there. Is it all the way up to there? I believe so. All this is going to be marble on the top. Specific types of cuts in order to make it symmetrical and all that stuff. So that's quite annoying. So I left my ledger board on both left and right side because it's still going to replicate, because I put my laser on it, so I still know where this piece is at, which is going to copy on top of my ledger board. But I already wasted too many pieces to make that happen, so I just moved on to the floor. And the floor took me a couple, 2 or 3 hours. And let me tell you why. This is marble. So back in the day, when I was first starting out, we were doing quite a bit of marble, quite a bit of granite and other natural stones, slate, travertine, all of that stuff. And the marble used to give us a lot of trouble because it would break. Right when you're cutting it, the vibration of the saw would break at a vein. And this stuff is no exception. So if you look on here, there's 2 or 3 veins going on. One elongated and then 3 of them crossways. And some of the veins are weaker than others. See that? Right on the edge there, there's a vein that follows through the whole tile. And what happens is it breaks on you. In fact, one of these pieces literally broke as I unwrapped it. There were, I think, 5 of them wrapped with saran wrap. And when I unwrapped it, one of them just broke in half. So very troublesome, very annoying because you're trying to get a good cut, same as I did. So this is going to be, there's going to be a skirt on top of here that's about 6 or 7 inches tall that's wrapped around here, same as this. I think I explained it before. So I went to cut yesterday a piece of tile, 12 by 24. I don't know why they have tape on it. I didn't even notice they have tape on it. Maybe because they break so easy? Yeah, so it shattered right at the vein. And that's annoying. So that's whatever cost that is, you know, $20 for one tile or something, just out the window. Marble is not easy to work with, even the smaller stuff, you know, the bigger stuff is worse. So anyway, it took me 2 or 3 hours to make all of this happen. All of these cuts had to be done, you know, double 45 there, double 45 there, and, you know, line up and all that stuff, and a little bit thicker thin set in the back to get a proper slope when all of this tile goes in. As you come into the shower, and then my flower pieces will be the field tile for the floor. So yeah, I've got all kinds of room to make this slope happen neatly down to here, and just a little bit of wiggle room there for thin set. So that will be nice. I took out these little dots. Did I mention this? I think I mentioned this already. So the dots got taken out. So what I'm going to do, see how that lines up to where those darts are that I took out. So perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I'll just inset those little missing pieces of half-cut dots. Then, you know, it'll look nice. We got a little bit of wiggle room with thin set going on. Not a whole lot when I get down to here, but enough that I can make it happen. So it'll look nice. It'll look nice for as much work as I put in. When I say as much work, this is 9 days worth of prep, believe it or not. 9 working days. I didn't work weekend, but you know, a Monday through Friday and then a Monday through Wednesday. So we're into day 8. This is 8 days of prep and the border. And then I'm stopped. So even though I've been here for the last 5 hours, a lot of that stuff was planning, a lot of that stuff was setting up my tile saw, a This rigid is garbage as far as doing good cuts. Has too much vibration, so I had to set up my DeWalt outside. Yada yada yada. So I've killed off 5 or 6 hours today, just doing what I'm doing now, and then tomorrow's a new day.